Begin by reading the Indigenous Land Use Statement. We acknowledge the land which we occupy today as the traditional home of the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok tribal nations. These sovereign people have been the caretakers of this land since time immemorial. Despite centuries of genocide and occupation, the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok continue as vibrant and resilient tribes and bands, both federally recognized and unrecognized. We take this opportunity to acknowledge the generations that have gone before, as well as the present-day Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok people. I hereby call this meeting to order at 10:31 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Brett, I wanted to ask if you'll be doing the roll call or if Director of Communications Carvalho will be doing that today.
Great question. We didn't get a chance to connect. And that's my bad. So I don't mind doing them, and then maybe Colton could try it out next week. Does that work? Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Roll call. President Burrows.
Present.
Present. Vice President Dominique. I don't see them on here yet. Director of Finance, Brianna.
Present.
Present. Director of Legislative Affairs, Sylvia.
Present.
Present. Director of Public Relations, Sydney.
Present.
Present. Legislative Analyst, Angie.
Present.
Present. Director of Communications, Colton.
Present.
Present. Senator Molly.
Present.
Present. Senator Nathan.
Present.
Present. Senator Nick.
Excused absence.
Okay. Excused absence. And CABE Rep Mark Shepard.
Present.
Present. All right. So we have 9 out of 11 present. Quorum has been met.
All right, with quorum met, we will move on to adoption of the agenda. If there are no objections, we will adopt the agenda. The agenda has been adopted. We'll now move on to approval of the minutes, and I believe Senator Nealon had a proposed amendment.
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. Under the board member report, Learning Material Affordability Committee, it should read that because of copyright infringement, the scan chapters are not available to the general public. They can be accessed through the instructor on campus. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. If there are no other proposed amendments, we will approve the minutes with the suggested changes. All right, the amended minutes have been approved. Now moving on to Chair's message. So I believe we're at the end of week 5 now. Last weekend was the SSCCC Region 2 Delegate Assembly. Many delegates were present, getting started with planning for the duration of the year. At least one delegate mentioned campus advocacy concerns regarding faculty hiring committees and experiencing pushback from their academic senates with respect to student participation on those committees. So I offered collaborative support from our board, hoping to hear from them about how we as a board might help. Since ARC does appoint students to faculty hiring committees, it's important to have student voices as part of those committees. AB 1456, which is a statewide assembly bill, is kind of a motion for more inclusive financial aid. SSCCC is distributing a petition on AB 1456. So I've just linked to that in the chat. If it's something that you support and would like to sign, please do so. We also discussed at the SSCCC regional meeting satellite campus representation. So as an example, ARC has Natoma Center, Mather Center, McClellan Center, and those centers are not currently represented on this board with, for example, a designated senator seat. So this could be an item of discussion to add to an upcoming agenda for consideration, but I just wanted to mention all of that to you to think about. Maybe you've taken classes there, you think the student body there as an extension of the ARC student body needs representation specifically. So other than that, I wanted to mention that the ARC RIM grant applications are due October 1st. This is approximately $800 grant to develop either individual or club research projects. Last year, I believe the RIM grant was awarded to Engineering Club for their hydroponics project. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. So Dola Garcia may be able to share more about that later on. If anyone's interested, we can ask her about that. Unfortunately, earlier this week, we had a crime incident on campus Wednesday evening. So I wanted to encourage everyone to be aware of both their safety and the community safety, and also of the WEAVE advocate. So WEAVE is an acronym for When Everyone Acts, Violent Ends. This is an advocate who appears on campus, I believe, about once a week. They're not there every day. I will also link this in the chat. ARC's website about the WEAVE advocate. So the WEAVE advocate supports students who have survived assaults or dealing with harassment or stalking, and also situations of domestic violence. So it's important to be aware of that resource on campus. More broadly, nationally, we have an epidemic of violence against women, girls, and gender variant people. You may have noticed this also in the national news recently. And I wanted to highlight the importance of Indigenous women are disproportionately impacted by this problem. You can learn more by Googling MMIW or MMIWG, which stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Final note on campus safety, the Clary report was released this week. The Clary report is a result of a federal law to report data on kind of campus safety in general. So every campus does this, and that report was just released. And then for final note from Cher's message, I just wanted to mention that National Tutoring Week is October 4th through 8th. If anyone is interested in maybe organizing an event in support and celebration of ARC tutors, the LRC Tutoring Center, the Beacon Program, MESA, Science Success Center all have student help and temp classified employed as tutors. So it could be a good opportunity to celebrate those resources on campus and acknowledge everything tutors do for us. So that will conclude Cher's message. We will now move on to advisor's message. Go ahead, Brett.
All right, thank you, Stacey. I always make a list every morning or the night before of what I want to cover, and Stacey, you knocked out like 3/4 of them, so thank you. That's well said. So I won't repeat them, other than I would urge to use the WEAVE services. I did want to address the incident on Wednesday. I wasn't there. I don't know much other than the rave alert we all got. But if you are on campus, right, you know, if you can, to walk with others, you can always call campus police for if it's late and you're on campus and you need an escort to your car or the bus stop or whatever. So feel free to use those services as well. So I just have a couple other things. First, aloha, hi, happy Friday. I believe this is week 5, so you're almost a third of the way through the semester already. I believe I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but September after Labor Day and then through October up to Veterans Day, November is the grind of the semester. And you all are right in the middle of it. So keep studying, keep reaching out to those faculty members that you're working with. School always comes first. I'm always going to tell you that. So, you know, if you feel overwhelmed with your studies, I know a lot of you have a lot of other extracurricular activities that you're a part of. Just let me know. I'm here to help you all. So I just wanted to make a reminder of that. I'd also like to apologize. I had a medical issue this week and was out Wednesday, and yesterday I had sat on Zoom for a few meetings, but wasn't really feeling doing too much emails. So I apologize. I know some of you reached out to me, and I will get back to you today before I wrap up. So I just wanted to apologize for that. With that being said, I'm also gone next week on vacation, as we talked about at last meeting. I'm working on a few advisors for both CABE and Senate, a few people that are interested. I just don't have one person yet. So I will let Mark and Stacey know, and they'll be here in my place. And they might not know all the inner workings of Senate or CABE and parliamentary procedure, but the folks I reached out to I trust, and I know will give you the updates that you all need that you might not have yet. So just be prepared for a guest next week. I don't need to talk to you all about behavior. It's not like a substitute teacher talk, so I won't go there. The only other thing I have, Stacey mentioned the RIM grants, and that's through the MESA program. So that's generally for clubs and other student orgs that want to do STEM related research or work. I can get you more info on that if one or many of you are interested in that. That MESA grant, we're supposed to get our funding from the state like any day now. So we're just waiting, but we felt confident enough that that money was going to come before we actually had to, transfer the money to whatever club or student org that was applying for it. So that's some inside baseball talk there. But the last thing, Stacey mentioned it too, was the hiring committees, especially on the faculty side. And from my perspective, and really from your perspectives, y'all need to know the day and the time well in advance. It's hard for Stacey or myself or Mark to ask you, can you serve on this committee? Sure, when is it? I don't know, right? That's a tough ask. So I'm gonna be working with some colleagues that are on the academic senate to really push that. I know everything's so fluid right now with people's schedules, and faculty are humans too, right? But if they really value student input, they need to make sure that those dates are secure so that we can then go out and say, I'm looking at Colton's screen. Colton, we need you Wednesday, October, whatever, right, at this time. So that's one thing I will be working on. And then the last thing I'll say is, like I said, I'm gone next week. Stacey and Mark have my cell phone number. Y'all can always reach out to me. I'll be honest, if you send me an email or Discord, I won't see it. I'm going off the grid for my own mental health, but I'll have my cell phone available. So if something does come up, let Stacey or Mark know, and they can reach out to me. Or if it's an emergency, Stacey and Mark, you can give folks my number. I'm not going to put it in the chat, but you can give them my number, and just text me or call. Normally when I go on vacation, I don't turn on my cell phone either, but because we're not bringing our daughter, I need to have my cell phone on. So I won't be totally off the grid this time. And that's about it. Vaccine mandate. Don't really have much other than what you probably all been receiving via messages. One thing I did clarify, and this was important to find out because there was a lot of miscommunication that at the deans and director level were confused on. For a student that does not submit their status, doesn't get cleared, whatever the case may be, doesn't get a waiver, you can still take online classes. You just can't be on ground. Any services you need, financial aid, counseling, all that is still remote and available to you. The confusion was spring. Can you enroll for spring if you don't have your status? And we were at first being told no, that you couldn't, but we clarified that yesterday. You can enroll for spring classes if your status isn't cleared yet. However, those have to be online classes. So keep that in mind when I know schedules come out, I think in another month or so, when you're selecting classes for spring, your vaccination status may impact that. So just keep that in mind. And if students ask, they can still enroll in spring classes if they're not cleared. They just have to be online. So hope that alleviates some stresses. I know we were all confused about it this week at administrative level. So it was good to hear that. And that's all I have. So I'll be quiet now. Thank you. And Stacey, back to you.
All right, thank you, Brett. We'll now move on to public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address ASB Senate on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken nor extended discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Senate may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment at this time? Great. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to appointments and swearing in. So today I just wanted to check in with Director of Public Relations Fagan, whether or not you're still interested in maybe Cape Rep.
For now, I'm going to say no. I think I just have too much right now.
Completely understandable. Thank you for that update. I also wanted to mention we have a standing committee of governance committee. I always wanted to call this internal affairs, but I believe it's governance committee. And I wanted to check, Brett, is governance committee chaired by the Director of Legislative Affairs?
Great question. I believe it is.
Last year it was, so I just wanted to confirm that, you know, I'll check on that if that's constitutional. But so in general, the governance committee would be chaired by Director of Legislative Affairs, Sylvia Garcia, reviews our constitution and bylaws. So we have some upcoming discussions that could entail things like director sustainability position or a Senate seat for the satellite campuses that was mentioned earlier during Chair's message. Those would be things to maybe consider for governance committee. Is there anyone who's interested in serving on governance committee at this time? All right, and I wanted to share a quick update. I did reach out to Cheryl Sears regarding operations committee last week, and I've had no response about that. So the schedule remains unavailable, and I haven't heard from operations about this at all. And today we have with us Los Rios Student Trustee Galinato as a guest speaker today, appearing further on the agenda, leading discussion on district-wide committees and work groups. So we will return to appointments as needed. Right, we'll now be moving on to unfinished business. Since VP Dominique is absent today, I'm not sure we'll be moving forward with the Sustainability Ad Hoc Committee. Brett, I wanted to ask, I believe this is the fourth agenda this has appeared on. Are we obligated to take action, or is it okay for it to keep appearing on agenda after agenda without a motion?
There's no rule that I'm aware of that says how long it can be on unfinished business. It's probably general practice after 3 to, you know, if you don't take action on it, to move on from it. But as far as I know in your constitution or bylaws, there's no rule about that, but I think just general practice. I think 3 is enough.
Sure.
Recognized.
Can we just like remove it from the agenda? I know that VP Dominique has a lot on her plate right now. Maybe we could just keep it off the agenda until she's fully done with her presentation, and then we'll add it back on.
Brett, can you answer that? Because I don't know.
Yeah, you can just make a motion and say, you know, we're gonna take this off unfinished business. I don't believe you need a roll call vote for that. It's just moved and seconded. And, you know, if you want to revisit it, someone can put it back on the agenda at another time, but that's fine.
All right. Are there any such motions at this time?
I move to take it off the agenda. Do I have to be more specific?
Second.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, we will, for the time being, remove the Sustainability Ad Hoc Committee from unfinished business. All right, moving on to new business, 10.1, the MESA Ad Hoc Committee. Is there a motion at this time?
I move to create a MESA ad hoc committee. This committee will be in charge of working with Brett Sawyer in supporting the MESA committee. The purpose of this committee is to support both the MESA Center and any students who would benefit from the services that MESA offers. I, Senator Ng, will be the chair. Initial members include President Stacey Burrows, Director of Finance Brianna Huh, and Director of Legislative Affairs Sylvia Garcia. If anyone else would like to join, you're more than welcome to. We would meet as needed to discuss the MESA reopening.
I would like to help.
All right, thank you,
Could you say
Senator
that?
Wheeler.
Could you identify that? I'm sorry. Oh.
Oh, you're
Who was
okay.
that?
That was Senator Molly Nealon.
Gotcha. Senator Molly, if you could send me your contact information, your email, your student number, I'd be happy to include you in our email chain.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, with the motion made for the committee, is there a second?
I'll second it.
With the motion made and seconded, we now have an ad hoc committee for MESA. Just before we move on, is there anyone else who would like to be appointed to that ad hoc committee? All right, so hearing none, we'll move on to 10.2 Discord server discussion.
Chair,
Recognized.
sorry, just to clarify, the committee is going to meet as needed, but do you have a report back date? And the only reason I asked, it's good to have that just so that the committee has some sort of structured timeline. It could be next week, it could be 2 months from now, doesn't really matter. Just, I don't know if Nathan had any input on that.
Senator Yang, did you want to answer that?
I'll be honest, I hadn't thought of that at the moment, but I'll say tentatively for now, at the end of October, I'll report back. By then, we should have at least had one meeting, you know, with the school reopening and all that. So I'll say at the end of October, let me pull up the date, my calendar, October 29th, on that Friday, last Friday of October.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, are there any motions to discuss the Discord server?
I make motion to discuss the Discord server.
I second it.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, we will now discuss whether or not to keep the Discord server that was used last year for ASB Senate or to relocate Senate business to the ARC Campus Life server, which is a little bit more active. All right, so for those of you who may already be on the ASB Senate server from last year, this was actually for both Senate and CABE. Sorry about that, Associated Student Body in general. This was put together by last year's Director of Public Relations, Makita Medvedev. I believe Nick has transferred, although I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't have any administrative access to that server. It looks like Brett doesn't either. I checked on that. And so we're kind of limited on what we can do with that unless we hear back from Nick. So the idea here is to maybe move Senate business to where we're also sharing agendas and other information to the ARC Campus Life server, which was set up over summer. And I believe Director of Public Relations Fagan, Director of Finance Quinn, a few other folks here are present on that server and also have administrative access. So are there any preferences for how we move forward on this? Floor is open for discussion.
Chair,
Recognized.
I think Discord is actually quite user-friendly, and it is really, really easy to find things. It's right there. It's great for messaging. I love the fact that I can see everything really quick. Personally, I love Discord. I use it for many of my classes. So I'm on there all the time because that's how my classes, the students in the class communicate among ourselves without having the instructor involved in it. So I really love it.
Thank you for that comment. Anyone else?
Chair.
I heard Director Fagan first. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I agree. I think it's always better to have things in a centralized location. So if we can move things to the one that we all have access to, it sounds like the best option anyway.
Thank you for that. Director Garcia.
Yes, I was going to say, would this allow clubs to still have a way of communicating amongst themselves, you know, if they want to share an event, for example, that's happening campus-wide?
Yeah, so that's kind of why we created the Campus Life server, is to kind of encourage clubs to come together, because many clubs have their own server, which is of course more than welcome, but the Campus Life server would kind of give a common hub for clubs to come together and have their own channel, and then also share some of their most pertinent updates, recruit club members, things of that nature.
Oh, awesome. Okay, Great, thank you.
Chair.
Recognized.
I actually just talked to Nick not that long ago. I'll reach back out to him and see if he can have him get a hold of you to release admin.
Thank you for that, Mark.
Yep.
Personally, I have no preference about which direction we go here. It would be great to have the administrative access to be able to give people their appropriate roles. But really, it's up to the board about which server you want to use for Senate business. So are there any motions at this time in preference of one server or the other?
I move to make the one server the official server for everything.
I'm sorry, which server was that?
The one we made over summer. Is there like a specific name for that
So
one?
that's the ARC Campus Life server.
ARC Campus Life server as our main server.
All right, with the motion made, is there a second?
Second.
All right, with the motion made and seconded, I believe we may need a roll call on this just because there may be a difference in preference or difference in opinion.
Sure. Okay, so the motion on the
Chair?
table. Oh,
Recognized.
Before we vote, I'd like to know a little bit more about the ARC Campus Life server. Maybe I'm just not familiar with that. How do we access it? Do I have access?
You do. You're actually on there, Molly. Let me see. I will post a link right now for anyone who may not be in. Recognized?
I thought we weren't supposed to talk once we made like a motion and then we're about to vote.
That's a good question. Brett, do you know the answer to that?
technically, yes. So the way, this is formal parliamentary procedure, but technically Molly there would say call the question. And so that's when they're trying to get more information on what the vote is. So that's the formal way. Molly did that, just not in a formal parliamentary procedural way. Good point though.
I wanted to clarify the difference between call for question and point of information, because I understand a point of information can be used to interrupt at almost any time, but a call for question, doesn't that force a vote?
Yes, I used the wrong word. Yes, the informational one is what Molly was doing there. It's so that someone doesn't vote blindly on something they're still unclear about. Yeah, call the question is let's vote on this. You're right.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. All right, if there are no other points of information, Brett will proceed with the roll call.
Point of information.
Recognized.
So this is still on Discord. It's just a different server on Discord.
Correct.
Oh, okay, got it. No worries.
All right, if there are no other points of information, we'll move into the roll call.
All right. P. Dominique is not here. Director of Finance, Brianna.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, I need to bring up my role here. I apologize. Director of Legislative Affairs, Sylvia.
Aye.
Yes. Director of Public Relations, Sydney.
Aye.
Aye. Director of Communications, Colton. Colton, I didn't.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Legislative Analyst, Angie.
Yes.
Yes. Senator Nathan.
Yes.
Senator Brianna. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You're no longer senator. I'm looking at my old list. Senator Molly.
Yes.
Yes. And K-Rep Mark.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Unanimous, 8-0.
All right, as a unanimous vote, we will be relocating Senate business to the ARC Campus Life server. So our next item on the agenda is the Los Rios District Committees and Work Groups, for which we have a guest speaker, our Los Rios Student Trustee Galinato. Is there a motion at this time to go into discussion and presentation?
I motion to discuss Los Rios District Committees and workshops.
I second.
Motion made and seconded. Trustee Galinato, you have the floor.
Well, thank you so very much. And also Advisor Sawyer, I did see your message and that's absolutely fine. But hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here. And it's my first visit to American River College. So it's so great to be here. And it's nice to see some of you after elections. And I'm glad to see you on board. If you didn't already know, hi, my name is Jen Galinato. I'm the Los Rios Student Trustee for the 2021 through 2022 year. For some of you, this is the first time we're meeting and I hope it's not the last. So I was asked here by your president, President Burrows. Thank you so much for having me here to talk about the work groups and district-wide committees that the district has. So I actually believe I gave you a few documents to pull up. So feel free to pass them along to your board when you're ready, or you can pull them up now. But basically, in hindsight, the district-wide committees, which are committees that are brought down from the district that are asking for student representatives. As part of your 9+1 rights, they are asking for students to be on this board so you can provide student perspective, as I do, the Board of Trustees. To the Board of Trustees, I am your sole representative on there and voicing your opinions on any matter of concern, like for example, the vaccine mandate that happened recently. That was why I was there, and also your president also provided public comment as well. So there are several district-wide committees. I am trying to find the tab I have for all of them open, unless President Burrows has it readily open in front of them. I'm hoping I can get it all in one. I believe I have it here.
I did just open that if you'd like that shared.
That would be greatly appreciated to everyone. So there's a multitude of groups here that we have listed here. At this time, we don't have, oh, that's the work group proposal, I believe. Oh, there we go. That's the one I'm looking for, the committees. So the goal is to have a student appointed to each of these committees by October. I am being a little bit ambitious and I will state that for the start. I would like to have a student on each and every one of these committees by no later than mid-October, before our next Board of Trustees meeting, which is on October 20th. So each of these committees, the student on that committee either has voting power or doesn't. There is a spreadsheet that notates that your president has access to. Each of these committees do differ and focus on specific aspects within the district. Like for example, the Chancellor's Cabinet, which is actually where your president is attending. That's where the Chancellor gives us updates, gives an overview of what's going on in the district, and where students provide feedback for what's going on at each individual college in a capacity that the Chancellor may or may not know of already. Versus the Academic Calendar Committee. The Academic Calendar Committee is overseeing the academic calendar for the year and may meet on a shorter period of time versus the Chancellor's Cabinet. Some of these committees, they meet year long or only are meeting for a specific period of time. Like for example, I believe the International Education Committee is only meeting for a short period of time. So if you're on that committee, you may only be meeting once every month versus the district, or not the district budget committee, excuse me, the district educational technology committee, where you may be meeting on a more frequent basis. So if you are interested in participating in any of these committees, what you will do is you will actually forward your name and your student ID over to President Burrows. President Burrows will forward them to me in an email, and I fill out a form to the district notating that you are the student representative for whichever committee you choose to be. Also, I also would like to recognize too that not everybody has the capacity to do so, but you are able to ask your fellow student body members, whether it be a classmate or a peer, to also join these committees as well, as long as you follow the procedure as I've already outlined, and that is providing your student ID and an email over to your president. Then your president will forward it to me, and then I will forward that to the district office on a form where they will then start receiving the information from a chair of the committee. So those are the committees as far. If you have any further questions, either direct them towards myself or your president, as we both have that information, as well as your advisor, who also has the form as well. So if your president may forget a name or two, your advisor is on it as well. So therefore, you have forms of support to let me know so I can get you on those committees as soon as possible. With that, we do sometimes have advisories and swift action work groups. We don't have any at this time, but it is 3 months into the school year so far, so anything can happen. They may come up, and when they do come up, I will be looking to your president to make immediate appointments to those, because those are also like our or let me go back, just as important as our district-wide governance committees. they also are needing students to be represented on there, as they also have a shorter frame time. The way I like to think of it as, these are like ad hocs, but in a much shorter time frame, like the zero textbook cost cost work group from last year, which was a swift action group. They started meeting towards the end of the year and needed swift action right then and there, so it could be implemented in time for this year. So those are our district-wide committees, advisories, and work groups. This list gets updated every year. The governance committees were provided to me at the beginning of the year, and we would like to have students on them by no later than October. Our advisories and swift action work groups, they may come up later on in the year. So those are our district-wide committees and work groups and advisory groups. So in addition to that, your president sits on a committee which is chaired by me, and that is the Student Advisory Committee, or SAC. So far, your K president is actually filling in for the role of your Senate president, and they work in tandem together to bring it back to the Student Advisory Committee, where all issues are discussed at that level, where all 4 presidents come to the table and we talk about these issues at hand that are impacting our students, so that it goes up to the board and the board can hopefully take action on that. So with that, last year, for my predecessor, as some of you, as I said earlier, are familiar faces to me, Tony Schiffmeyer, who was the trustee before me, created these work groups, and this year's group approved of reconvening them for this year. So we have 6 here. I would like to note that the first one that is listed, there has been a name change. I just forgot to update the document, so that's apologies for that. But for that being said, we have the Black Student Support Work Group, the Student Services, Basic Needs, Legislative Affairs, Green Initiative, and DEI Task Force. Each of these work groups are student-led. Therefore, students are at the very forefront of leading them. There's a student point person for each of these groups, and they will be working to help assist me in any capacity needed on issues that are brought up on campus level. So for example, I'll also give a quick rundown of each of these committees, work groups as well. So for example, the Black Student Success work group will be focusing on success for our Black and African students. That right now is being overseen by the point person, that is the Senate President, Folsom Lake College, and that's another than Trajan Robinson. He would be your point person to go to if you're interested in joining that, versus the Legislative Affairs work group, that is that is open to students, any students as well, that are interested in participating in legislative efforts within the district, but not related to lobby day. I'd like to quickly emphasize that if you are joining that group, there is no correlation. So I'll also touch on each of the ones that I didn't kind of give a quick overview of, but those are just kind of what an overview of these work groups are. So going back, Student Services Work Group, which is, I believe, your point person is none other than your president and your K presidents. They will be focusing on student services throughout the entirety of the district and kind of comparing and seeing what students have at one campus, seeing what's at another, and seeing how equitable and workable it is for our students in order to effectively serve each and every one of them, as there are, I believe, and I hope I have the number correct, and your advisor can correct me if I have the number wrong, there's, I believe, anywhere between 70 to 80,000 students within our district as a whole. Okay, cool, I got that number right, sweet. And then on top of that, we do have our Basic Needs work group, and I believe also your president is the point person for that as well. Basic Needs is an ongoing issue throughout all of our districts and throughout the state of California as well. So I'm looking for this group to help me in addressing what can be implemented as we are addressing basic needs. Okay, thank you for that, Advisor Sawyer. So you may be also working with another work group in order to oversee what resources are offered to students on each and every one of the campuses and compare and contrast, so we can address those basic needs of students, as no two students have the same basic needs or needing of addressing. That doesn't sound right, but hopefully that makes sense. I already talked a little bit about the Legislative Affairs work group. I would like to encourage, if you have a secretary or director of Legislative Affairs person, to work on this group, as I will also be looking to them to assist in student engagement and participation, as unfortunately we've seen a student engagement drop and dip throughout this time, as unfortunately the pandemic has impacted us all in an unimaginable way possible. So I will be asking of whoever's involved in that group to help assist with those efforts in addition to getting out the word in anything regarding elections, or even identifying issues that we can further advocate on for students in a legislative aspect. Again, this group has no correlation nor tandem to work with in lobby day planning, as that is solely on your Secretary or Director of Legislative Affairs. That is something separate. If you are joining that work group, it is for more the advocacy-based portion, not the lobbying aspect. So these were the 4 that were brought back. There are 2 new groups this year, and that the group approved, and that's the Green Initiative Work Group. The Green Initiative Work Group is over here to assist in the sustainability and work on the environmental aspects of the campus, as this is becoming more and more of an issue that students are bringing up to the front on the campuses. And therefore, we would like to ask students to help with that effort as we are moving towards a more equitable or diverse, equitable, and inclusionary work in our diversity, equity, and inclusionary work, or again, DEI. So we are looking to students to help out with that efforts as we are, again, overseeing sustainability aspects of it. Last but not least, and that is our DEI task force, or diversity, equity, and inclusion group. So this work group specifically will be working in tandem with all the other groups, but more specifically working on a focus on how equitable, diverse, and inclusionary all of our campuses are, and what we can do to better these experiences for our students. I may also ask the DEI task force group to work hand in hand with the basic needs work group, or the student services and Black student support groups, as they are also this advisory support group to help all the other groups do their work. So with that being said, if you are interested in joining any of the work groups, feel free to let me know. My email is down in that document below, and it's simply student.trustee@losrios.edu. I'll also drop my contact information for all of you. So in case you want to get in touch with me, or an email just didn't get to me because internet does happen, then I would be more than happy to sit down and talk to you about any of these groups, or get you connected into working in those groups with the right point person. And then once again, with the district-wide committees, I believe I already explained that process about 3 or 4 times. But if you are interested or aren't sure just yet, feel free to shoot me a message, or even asking your president to put us in contact, because that can happen too. So with that being said, I am able to take any questions or comments or concerns that any students may have about either the district committees or the student-led work groups, as I'll pass the floor now back over to President Burrows, just in case.
Damn. Are there any questions regarding committees, work groups, anything else for Trustee Galinato?
Chair,
Recognized.
I am interested in being a student representative on one of the district governance committees, but where could I find more information about when each of the committees meet?
That is a great question. I do believe both your advisor and your president have the dates of when they would meet. Also, when you do sign up to be a part of the district committee, the chair will usually send out an email regarding dates. You can also ask the chair for those dates as well, in addition to a meeting agenda. I believe some of them already have listed dates. So was there anyone in particular that you were interested in, Director Hahn?
The District Math Skills Graduation Competency Committee.
Let me quickly look at that real fast for you, and I can drop those dates down below for you if you are interested in participating in that.
Chair,
Recognized.
while student trustee is looking for those, your advisor Oscar might have those readily available more than I will. I'll keep digging, but if not, I'll try to reach out to Oscar. I know he sent me a lot of stuff, so I'll keep checking to see all those times.
So I do want to address the question regarding the District Graduation Competency Committee. So as I see it on the document that I have, and I'll send it again to your advisor and president again, just once again, just so they can have it. It does state that they will be meeting on a once per semester or on an interim basis as needed. So those are one of the committees where there isn't a set date and time just yet. but they are meeting based on a need or call in meeting. So let me send that in the chat for you really fast.
All right, thank you.
Chair,
Recognized.
Student Trustee Jen, could you tell me about the District Curriculum Coordinating Committee and the Council? Is that a Los Rios committee that deals with courses and how they're presented?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch which committee that was again. Was it the District Curriculum Coordinating Committee?
Yes.
Okay, so the purpose of this committee is providing recommendation to the Board of Trustees or its representative to district-wide curriculum matters. I do believe they deal with curriculum. So if you are on this committee, and we are asking for representatives of each campus to serve on this committee to report curriculum-wise what is occurring on their campuses. I was on that committee last year. What will occur is that there may be adoptions of curriculum courses or curriculums or courses, and then deletions of curriculums and courses. They will also be discussed at length. For example, you may, due to the pandemic, you may discuss a course that students aren't taking and whether or not it's still being taught at some of the colleges. And then in other cases, you may see a demand for some courses that it's only available at one college and should be expanded to the other 3 colleges throughout the district. I hope that does answer your question.
I'm specifically looking for a way to deal with an issue that was brought to my attention of some online courses not having lectures. Would this committee deal with that problem?
Ooh, I cannot answer that question whether or not it does directly address that, but I would recommend that that's something that can be brought up. In regards to the matter at hand, I also recommend that you can bring that up if it's not through this committee, that you bring it up also to your, I believe, academic senate. Your president can also do that as well as your behalf, or additionally, your president can also bring it to the next, oh my goodness, what is it? Student Advisory Committee. And currently the representative on there right now is your K president, Mark Shepard. So if you let him know, in addition to letting your Senate president know, Stacey, who's in great communication with me, that can be brought up at that meeting. So I'm not sure if the District Curriculum Coordinating Committee can address that, but if you are appointed to that committee, I would recommend bringing it up. And I believe the chair of this committee is Eric Wada. So he does schedule one-on-ones with students who sit on this committee.
I'm interested. I'll drop you an email. Thank you for that input. I will drop you an email. I'm interested.
I also wanted to thank you for that answer, Trustee Galinato. This is something Senator Nealon's been discussing with me this week in terms of whether or not we should bring this on an upcoming agenda. And I realize that this is a concern for students about whether or not there's a lecture. Thank you for that point. I'm bringing that to academic senate. That makes sense. Any other questions from the board regarding district committees, district work groups?
Chair,
Recognized.
are we limited to participating in one district committee? Because as Trustee Galinato mentioned, the district math skills graduation committee will only possibly meet once a semester. So could I also volunteer for another committee if I were interested?
Trustee Galinato, would you like to answer that?
I would be more than happy to answer that question. And as students, you are allowed to join as many or as little as you would like to, or let me rephrase that. You are allowed to join as many committees as you are able to. There's nothing that says that there's a limit. As a student, I also do recognize capacity for each and every one of you. So I recommend communicating through the chair. If you are having a hard time communicating through the chair as well, you can always let me know and I can always communicate with the chair for you regarding your ability to attend the meetings or which committees you're a part of. So if you are interested in joining more than one, then by all means, feel free to do so.
Thank you for that answer. Any other questions?
Chair.
Recognized.
It's just a quick sales pitch from your advisor here. Each campus has its own challenges, right? And I will say for ARC, we're the biggest school population wise. And other schools right now, I think are struggling with getting student involvement. So anything we could do to, and I hate to use this word, but kind of pick up for the other schools that are struggling right now, any boards that that we can find students for, I think will help the district. You know, district's making a lot of decisions right now with everything pandemic wide, reshaping campuses, and students should be there. And I know it's hard to make those commitments in addition to everything this board asks of you, but if you can make it, you know, it will go a long way to help students across the district and future students, because the decisions you all are going to give input on or make are going to help those sophomores in high school right now that are coming through the pipeline in 2 years, because virtual learning is not going away. It's probably here to stay. So having an input on what, you know, how to be equitable in that process, and the curriculum example that Molly brought up, I think are good points that sometimes district and people like myself too, that are not in a classroom, don't fully understand. So that's just my quick little rah-rah speech. So I encourage any of y'all to participate who can. Thanks.
Those are great points, Brett. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Right, seeing and hearing none, I know the board joins me in thanking you, Trustee Galinato, for appearing today and explaining everything to us. We really appreciate your service to our district.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. And again, this won't be the last visit. So if any of you want, I will be dropping my contact information. Feel free to shoot me a message or email me. I'd be more than happy to sit down with each and every one of you and get to know a little bit about what you do and how I can best support you in any capacity possible. And kudos to this board for serving at an unprecedented time. So I commend and applaud each and every one of you. And I can't wait to work with each and every one of you as always. So thank you once again, and I will leave you to go back to your business.
All right, thanks again. With that, we will move on to committee reports. I do not believe any committees met this week. I'm glad to see some committees are starting to form though. So we will move on to board member reports and announcements. Are there any members of the board who wish to make a report or share an announcement at this time?
Chair,
Recognized.
just want to let you know that CABE is forming. We have a welcome back committee that will be meeting actually today, as well as over the weekend and Monday, to hurry up and make sure we finalize some welcome back events for the students on campus. So we'll be meeting today at like 1 o'clock, 1:30, to discuss what we can do to welcome back the students and make them feel safe on campus.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Are there any other member reports or announcements at this time?
Chair.
Recognized.
I just wanted to share that yesterday I had the opportunity of meeting Stacey, Sylvia, and Mark in person for the first time at the President's Circle event. That was very fun. Sylvia, Stacey, and I were also able to meet Diane Bryant, who is the woman that has her name on the STEM Center. So that was a super cool opportunity.
Thank you for that. It was very good to see you guys yesterday.
Chair.
Recognized.
Yes, I would like to also say it was great seeing you guys in person. I had a great time. I would also like to extend the invitation on Sunday at 2 p.m. The STEM caucus will be meeting for the first time. So Brianna, Vice Chair Brianna, and I are, really excited to get this caucus started. And if you guys can please make sure you extend the invitation to your fellow classmates as well as your friends, that would be great. I will be posting agenda and meeting a meeting link later on today.
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to highlight, we have statewide leaders here on this board and really proud to have them. All right, any other board member reports or announcements?
Chair,
Recognized.
I forgot to mention that for the joint budget committee, everyone submitted their availability. And so I'll select 2 weeks that we will have each of our meetings this semester and send out a doodle poll as suggested by President Stacey. So I'll send that out sometime today, just a heads up.
Sounds good. Any other board member reports or announcements? Right. Seeing and hearing none, we will now move on to public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the ASB Senate on issues not already appearing on the agenda. A limit of 2 minutes per speaker shall be observed with a maximum of 4 minutes per topic. No discussion is allotted on public comment. The law does not permit any action to be taken or extended discussion of any items not on the agenda. The ASB Senate may briefly respond to statements made for questions posed. However, for further information, please contact the ASB Senate President for the item of discussion to be placed on a future agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment at this time? Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to adjournment. This meeting will be adjourned if there are no objections at 11:27 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Hearing and seeing none, the meeting is adjourned.